Hello, and welcome to another edition of the fifth quarter. I'm Mike Ciarochi, sports editor of Herald-Standard.com, and I'm joined as usual by George Von Benko, WMBS radio personality and author of Memory Lane, the column and the book.
The column and the book,
yeah. And we're here to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just finished up their third preseason game on Saturday night against the Atlanta Falcons. Pretty much the only, as I said in my column on Sunday, the most meaningful of the meaningless games.
It's the biggest dress rehearsal for the season. Most of the regulars get to play at least two quarters, sometimes into the third, some of the guys. And the offense looked really good. There were some big plays. The only thing that was a little disturbing is a couple of guys got nicked up, and you're concerned about that. Marquise Pouncey hurt his ankle. He did not practice on Monday. He's supposed to get into the practice mode on Tuesday because they leave to head to Carolina for a game on Thursday night. So that's a concern. Keenan Lewis got hurt, but the knee injury seemed to be okay, and that's a position that they can ill afford to lose anybody at cornerback.
Cornerback, it's we talked a little bit before we started recording. It's kind of an Achilles heel, has been for years for the Steelers, but they're not alone in that regard.
No, as Dick LeBeau told me at training camp when I asked him, and he doesn't like to get into specifics. He talks about the defense as a whole, but he did go out of his way to say that the Steelers had the #1 defense 3 out of the past 6 years. You're not #1 in the NFL if your secondary is terrible.
No, right. And it's kind of more of a, to me anyway, it's more of a statement that offenses are that good in the NFL, and it's certainly the Atlanta Falcons, coming off a 13-3 season, fit that mold. They were a good offense before they drafted Julio Jones.
Yes, they were. Roddy White tortured the Steelers last year. He did it again the other night. I think Ryan threw 42 times.
First half.
Which is also an indication that you can't run against the Steelers, which has been the thing that's happened the past few years. People are forced to throw the ball against Pittsburgh.
And a couple of the drives. There are a couple of things to say. I think off of the Atlanta game regarding the Steelers' defense. They were on the field a long time. They gave up a whole lot of, I think it was 2 12-play drives and a 14-play drive that Atlanta put together. All three of them, though, ended in field goals. So, I think you'll
don't break.
Ben,
don't break. But and the defense came up with several big. The Timmons interception, the Butler interception late in the game off Chris Redmond that went for a touchdown. So they did make some big plays. The one thing that still bothers me a little bit, last year the Rooneys had said that they wanted to see the Steelers run the ball a little bit more effectively, and Mendenhall had a tremendous year. The running game really perked up. If you've noticed what's happened, now that you've got your #1 quarterback in there, you don't have to worry about him missing the first 4 games. They've really unleashed a bag of tricks throwing the football, but I want to know whether they can run it, and we haven't really seen that much of it.
Right, we haven't seen it in the games, but from watching it at training camp, I look for a tremendous season from Rashard Mendenhall. He seems to be the complete back now. There's no reason to take him out on 3rd down. If there's going to be a platoon system with these guys, I think it's going to be more in the sense of series by series. Isaac Redmond is coming along as well. He seems to be fairly complete as a running back. I think he may get a series or two interspersed with Rashard being a 3-down back and then give him a blow for a series as opposed to taking him out on 3rd down.
I agree with you. And now the first series of cuts wasn't really much of a surprise anywhere in the first series of cuts. Those were names that were at best long shots to even make the club, and Baron Batch they did put on the injured reserve.
The one thing that stood out to me was they cut 2 of the two of the young wide receivers. Greenwood was one, and I can't remember the other guy's name. Was it Moore?
I believe it was Moore.
To me that bodes at least decent for Terrence McCray, the Connellsville kid, for a practice squad.
That's what we were looking for, and I think it does improve his chances. And talking to some of the coaching staff, they like him.
Yeah.
It's just a numbers game at wide receiver. And if he can make the practice squad, I think that would be just tremendous for him.
Yeah.
We were talking before we went on the air about Pouncey missing practice and Lewis back. The other guy that returned to practice, who everybody's been wondering about, is Emmanuel Sanders. He had the foot problem.
Okay.
He did return to practice.
Okay, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. When you look through, we talked about the big plays defensively. There was a big play special teams and a lot of big plays offensively. A lot turned in by the same guy.
Yes, Antonio Brown. And I guess talk shows need something to talk about, because after the game, that's all the conversation was. They're still talking about it early in the week about him being penalized for the taunting and so on. And it wasn't a smart, but people, it's really funny. People are taking both sides. Some say, I think it's okay, and some other people say, well, you got to be more controlled than that. And I think he would be the first to admit, at least I heard his comments after the game, that I shouldn't have done it.
Right. Oh yeah, he did. He owned right up to it, and I kind of harken back to the 70s and what Chuck Noll always used to say.
Act like you've been there before.
Exactly. And Antonio Brown has been there before, both special teams and as a receiver. I think it's good it happened in a preseason game.
It's good.
Because it's kind of a wake-up call for him, I think, and it gives both before Coach Tomlin spoke with him on the sidelines, he had a little chat going on with the quarterback coming off the field.
Exactly. Well, the thing I liked about it too,
it's not our way.
Yeah, the Roethlisberger told me, but the thing I liked about it, he was smart enough not to make the coach find him. He went right to the coach, because if they make the coach find you, he's going to be even madder by the time he gets to you.
Yeah, that's for sure. Any other impressions of the first game? We can flip over here to the final stats. Maybe that'll spur something for you. The running game I didn't think was very effective, especially not in the first half.
No, and the other thing that they got burned on a couple of special teams plays with some returns, which was something that Al Everest had really done a good job of. And I guess that's going to happen, but that actually set up the one score. They had a short field. They would start from the 38, I think.
But if not for the horse collar tackle, Antonio Brown may have taken the opening kickoff all the way to the house.
Yeah, and it was the kicker that did it.
The
horse collar tackle. But I think that it's falling into place. This was an odd training camp because they got started so late because of the walkout. They didn't have their normal off season with the OTAs. It was an accelerated learning curve, especially for the younger guys. And then, it still remains to be seen, and LeBeau and I talked about this. A lot of people felt that because of the walkout, veteran teams were going to have a little bit of an edge going into the season, because those guys didn't have to go through as much preparation learning the defense or learning the offense as some other teams who maybe had coaching changes or turnovers during the season. And LeBeau said that's a good point, but I think we'll have to wait and see how that plays out.
You still have to figure, though, that the Steelers are in better shape than most teams in terms of handling a lack of OTAs and a lack of mini camps. They have virtually the top 22 players back. I'm sure there's someone in there that I'm missing that is no longer with them. A couple of players. Well, the offensive line, I guess, has been
and the Starks and some of those people
around a little bit. But the guys coming in for Max Starks and Flozo Adams were there. We're with them last year. These guys are coming off a Super Bowl appearance. They just seem to be primed. A couple of examples. Troy Polamalu looks better than
he was moving around very well, and they held him out early because they weren't sure coming back what he was going to be like, but he's moving around. You cross your fingers and hope that nothing happened. I was interested in James Harrison's comments. After the back surgery, he commented in the paper. I think it was today. I read that in some notes column that he was really feeling it on Monday. Over the weekend after the game, the back was very tender. And I guess that's going to be something we're going to have to watch all season long.
Well, coming off the surgery, you're bound to be a little bit tender, and it'll take especially in the back, the lower back. It'll take it a little while to get acclimated to what he does for a living.
The guy that continues to impress me, and they just signed him to a contract extension just a while back, Lawrence Timmons looks like he is primed for a huge season.
Yeah, had a great season last year, and looks like he's ready to build on it.
Yeah, it really does. So, I mean, it's status quo right now. I think they're building toward another run. The window is still open, to borrow a trite phrase, but it is still open.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think they can go a long way this year. Not to put the cart before the horse, but just to let the viewers know the Super Bowl's in Indianapolis this year.
Driving distance.
Yeah, driving distance for all the Steeler Nation fans and all that from home, and really from Middle America. It's drivable from anywhere in the country.
One thing quickly that we didn't touch on was the injury of Byron Leftwich.
Yes.
Which everybody was wondering coming into the game, were they going to showcase Dennis Dixon? Was there a possibility of a trade for either Batch or Dixon? What were they going to do? That was all sorted out by the broken arm. Charlie Batch is number 2, and Dennis Dixon is number 3.
Well, I don't know. I think Coach Tomlin may opt for Dennis Dixon as his number 2.
You think?
So yet to be. Yeah, I've heard a lot of different comments. It seems a lot of the media are saying what you said. Charlie Batch, because of his experience, the fact he's been there, done that, not only here but with the Lions for a number of years, that he would be the immediate backup to Ben Roethlisberger. I don't know that the Coach Tomlin's going to go that way. I'm not saying that I disagree with what everyone's saying or that I agree with them. I just think that in Coach Tomlin's mind, the guy who earns the playing time.
Well, that might be determined Thursday night.
Yeah.
I think Batch is going to see his most significant action of the preseason on Thursday night.
Yeah,
because he hasn't really played.
No, right. He hasn't really done much.
Yeah.
But you know what you have with him. I mean, I can understand why you wouldn't have played him to this point.
But I think you're going to shake the rust off a little bit.
Yeah, get him out there. And, Dennis Dixon, hey, coming into the draft, if not for that knee injury at Oregon, wasn't
Oregon, yeah. He might have been a Heisman Trophy winner.
Heisman Trophy winner, could have been a number 1 draft choice somewhere. Ended up coming to the Steelers in the 5th round, I believe. Rehabbed the knee, got everything better. I'll tell you what, he's an athlete. He can get it done.
Well, we've about covered everything from the Atlanta game. We've got the Thursday night game with Carolina coming up, and then we'll get together for 5th quarter after that, because then we get into Baltimore week, which is always special.
Yeah.
September the 11th against the Ravens.
Yeah, that should be a heck of a ball game. We'll preview that on another show. But these two teams love to hate each other pretty much. And,
well, yeah, I was joking with you outside. In my mind, the Baltimore Ravens are really the Cleveland Browns wearing purple.
Yeah, well,
and that's what they are.
Yeah. But that's another show for another day.
Yes.
For now, we'll just sit back and watch the last exhibition game, and we'll take it from there. The Steelers are 2-1 in the exhibition. Not that that matters.
No, I never get too fired up about preseason football.
No, it's fun to watch though, and.
One of the big things is people are still talking about reducing the preseason, and I have mixed feelings about that.
Yeah.
Why? I think from a standpoint, particularly with what happened this year, if you had only had 2 preseason games this year, I think it would have been an inferior product to start the season, because they would not have been ready to play.
This year, I agree with you, but in general, I think 2 is plenty. 2 may be even overkill at preseason games. I just think. This year being the
I can tell you this: don't mention that to any of the coaches.
No,
because they want that evaluation period. They want that will hurt a lot of the marginal players, the undrafted players, and it will hurt a lot of the younger players, because you don't really get. Well, if they go in the future, that is still going to hurt them, because you're not going to really get that evaluation period.
I guess, but that's again that's.
But you and I don't have to worry about that, because we're grizzled veterans.
Yeah, it's another show for another day, and that'll pretty much wrap up this edition of the 5th quarter. Thank you, George, for coming in and sitting down with us for a while, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.